I just looked at Terence Crawford's latest video. Terence Crawford, 20 pounds of muscle, my ass. Terence Crawford looks finished. And I knew that was going to happen because Terence Crawford's metabolism and its frame. You got him walking around maybe close to 180 or something like that. But as he works out, his body's going to do what it does. It's going to get lean. And I think it benefits Terence Crawford. Actually, we don't want him stepping in the ring going up to 180. I think it just hinders him. Right? When Floyd Mayweather was fighting at 154, he never weighed in at 154. He weighed in at what was most comfortable for him because 154 is the limit. Terence Bud Crawford, if he gets on the scale and he doesn't weigh quite 168, I think it's actually for his benefit. What he has going for him comes with him being smaller, actually. People talk about his speed, talking about his foot speed, hand speed, talking about all those things, his reflexes and all those things. That comes from what we've seen of him from 147.
The boxing community is buzzing after Jermell Charlo's recent comments about Canelo Alvarez.
There's just guys that just have preposterous power, and Canelo is a guy that has power but is constantly working on it. There's a great clip of him working with Andy Ruiz. You know that shield, that weird hand shield they hold up for hooks?
Yeah.
And he's like, this is not for speed. This is just power. Just power. He's like, don't try to be fast with this, just power. And you see him down there, bro, he hits so hard.
Despite suffering a tough defeat to the Mexican superstar in 2023, Charlo didn't hold back in sharing his thoughts. When asked about Canelo's power, he summed it up in just 3 words: a monster's force. Coming from someone who has battled top-tier opponents, that statement carries serious weight. Charlo admitted the impact of Canelo's punches was unlike anything he had experienced before, leaving him shaken in a way he'd never felt in his entire career. For a fighter with his level of experience, that's a startling confession.
I like Crawford. All right. My brother fought Canelo, not me. I like Crawford in this fight, and he gets to stay big. But my brother even told me that was his mistake that he made. He thought going up in weight, I got to get massive, I got to get big to beat Canelo. It made him slower. It made his reflexes slower. He'll tell you himself. He didn't feel like the Jermell Charlo that y'all seen him fight Tony Harrison. Crawford, I feel like that's the same thing as that. You want to get big to try to absorb Canelo punches and all this, but that's not, technically, that's not the Crawford that we're going to see. And then Crawford going up there to fight Canelo at 68, when he's not a 68-pounder, where's the motivation? Y'all got to think about it like
big for Crawford.
The money is good, but I don't expect Terence Crawford to be the Terence Crawford that was knocking out Gamboa, doing all. I don't expect that type of Terence.
Fans are eagerly anticipating Canelo's upcoming clash with Terence Crawford next month in Las Vegas. While Crawford is preparing for this new challenge, his reputation as one of the pound-for-pound elites is unquestionable. The intrigue lies in how he will handle the size gap against Canelo, considering Crawford has moved up through several weight divisions, from lightweight to welterweight, and now eyeing super middleweight territory. For Canelo, this matchup won't be a walk in the park either. Crawford's sharp fight IQ and refined skill set could expose gaps in Canelo's approach.
But Jermell did give Crawford problems. I favor Canelo, not by a lot, but I do favor him. I just think that, I think the skull fight was just a bad style. And I think Canelo was like, why force the issue? You know what I mean? I'm up. This guy's running. I'm not gonna take a chance. So I think that it was that kind of fight for Canelo. But Jermell did give Crawford problems. You know what I'm saying? And where I felt like, damn, at 54, he gave you problems. 68 is different.
Corey Davis weighed in on the matchup, pointing out that Crawford's mental resilience and smooth transition into higher weight classes could play a bigger role than many expect. According to him, Canelo's supposed size advantage might not be as overwhelming as people assume. Davis noted that despite moving up in weight, Crawford hasn't lost his sharpness or quickness, 2 qualities that continue to make him dangerous.
Been in there with Crawford? Yeah. So you've been in there with Crawford, you've been in there with Canelo. What can you take from sparring both of them to gauge what's gonna happen in September?
Preparation is gonna definitely be everything. Crawford adjusting to the 168 pound division. I know he's been sitting at a heavier weight for a while, but like, he's been showing his training and stuff. So that's definitely gonna help him. Canelo experience, but then you got Crawford got great experience as well. It's gonna be a great fight. It's gonna be a good chess match. I expect a great fight. If I had to favor somebody, I would just pick Canelo because of the weight disparity. Canelo is naturally sits really well at 168, and it's just always tough for a guy to come to 168 and come from that many weight classes up and do something like that. If he does it, if anybody can do it, it'll be Terence Crawford.
Richardson Hitchens shares a similar outlook. He doesn't believe this fight ends with a knockout, but he sees Crawford's style, built on sharp intelligence, adaptability, and technical precision, as a real problem for Canelo. While Canelo often thrives on strength and raw power, Crawford's speed, fluid movement, and high ring IQ could neutralize those advantages. In Hitchens' view, a fight where strategy and execution outweigh brute force could very well tilt in Crawford's favor.
I think Terence Crawford is one of the most craftiest dudes that Canelo going to be in the ring with. Hand speed, IQ, long arms, speed, power. Switch hitter. I just think that it's going to be something different for Canelo.
Mike Tyson, known not only for his legendary career but also for his insight into what defines a true champion, believes Crawford's mental toughness could be the deciding factor. Despite the physical differences between the two fighters, Tyson points out that matchups like this are often won through heart, resilience, and mindset. Crawford has repeatedly proven that his mentality gives him an edge, and Tyson is confident that Crawford's discipline and focus could offset Canelo's physical power inside the ring.
Who do you think wins that fight? Is it maybe the weight too much for Terence Crawford?
There's been men that beat people like Armstrong and McLaren and these guys. They're beating people bigger than them, 2 divisions bigger than them. It's not impossible. Henry Armstrong's a featherweight and he beat the middleweight champ. At 130 pounds, he beat the welterweight champ. Then he fought a draw with the middleweight champ. So I think size means nothing. Determination means everything.
Zab Judah is even more confident that Crawford has what it takes to get the job done. He believes Crawford has the tools to overcome Canelo, pointing to his sharp skill set and deep fight IQ as key advantages. Judah emphasized that Crawford's speed and ability to outthink his opponent could give him the upper hand, especially in the later rounds, when Canelo's energy may start to fade.
Canelo and Crawford.
Crawford. No hesitation. No hesitation.
I want to see that fight.
Big Bud. Big Bud. We're going to have to roll Canelo up. We're going to have to pack him up, baby.
But how hard is the jump from 47 to 68?
I mean, listen, it's a very big challenge. But what I said, for his skills and the way he's adapted to the size, brother, when I seen him stand toe-to-toe and side by side, I said, game over. Terence Crawford. And listen, don't be surprised if he stops it. I'm telling you.
Who?
Don't be surprised
if Canelo stops Crawford.
Terence Bud Crawford stops Canelo.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I love you. Skills pay the bills.
See that, Cody?
Skills pay the bills.
Caleb Plant takes a balanced stance on the matchup. In his view, the outcome won't come down to size or skill alone. Mental toughness will also play a crucial role. Plant points out that both men bring unique strengths into the ring. Canelo with his power and experience, and Crawford with his speed and adaptability. The clash of these qualities, he says, creates an unpredictable and intriguing fight that will truly push both fighters to their limits.
Terence is not a regular guy. You know what I'm saying? He's special. And, Canelo, he's a top-notch fighter, world-class fighter. Still on the pound-for-pound list, I'm sure towards somewhere near the top. And it's exciting. Terence is freakishly strong. He can punch. He's got good crack. He can fight from both ways. Orthodox, southpaw. He can fight at mid-range, close range, outside. And he can fight going both ways. So it's exciting. It's exciting. It's a big question mark on the end of it, though. So that's why, I'm sure all of us are excited for that bell to ring and, be able to find out firsthand.
Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith has also voiced his support for Crawford. He believes Crawford's quick footwork and mobility will allow him to stay clear of Canelo's heavy shots. While Canelo's style is built around cutting off the ring and landing powerful punches, Smith argues this could actually play into Crawford's strengths. In his view, if Crawford can maintain movement, control the distance, and avoid those fight-ending blows, he has a real chance to pull off the upset.
You got a love for boxing.
Yes, love boxing.
Who gonna win the fight, man? That's coming up, the biggest fight in boxing.
Crawford.
Huh?
Crawford. I'm not hesitating. Crawford. I'm not even hesitating. Crawford.
You gonna stand on that all the way to September 13th?
I love Canelo. Crawford will beat Canelo. Crawford will beat Canelo by decision. I can't see anybody knocking out Canelo Alvarez. But I do believe that if you can box and you can move, that you can beat Canelo. You can outpoint him.
That's right.
When I think about Canelo, one of the things that I don't like about Canelo, despite his greatness, and a neck as wide as Broadway for crying out loud.
Right.
It's like almost every shot has to be a power shot.
It's a power shot, yeah.
That's not beating Crawford. I will confess, I think Gervonta Davis's trainer, Cal, I think he said this. He said Crawford could find himself in trouble if he decides to engage with Canelo, because Canelo is the naturally bigger, strong fighter. And I don't care that Crawford's gotten bigger, and I don't care that Crawford's gonna go in there just as big as Canelo. Canelo is accustomed to fighting at the weight, and Crawford is not. And Canelo is a genius in this regard. You don't see him show up for fights not ready. He's always
prepared.
He's always ready. He's always prepared. So I think he's the slower fighter, though. And I think that Crawford is brilliant as a boxer. And I think that between switching to conventional and southpaw, using his jab and movement, I think that Crawford is going to outpoint Canelo because he's faster. But I don't think...
Kelly Pavlik also shared his perspective on the matchup. He gives Canelo credit for consistently taking on larger opponents, while noting that Crawford has less experience against naturally bigger fighters. Pavlik feels this could play a role, since Crawford is still adjusting to facing opponents who are stronger and more comfortable at higher weight classes. Still, despite his doubts, Pavlik acknowledges Crawford's elite talent. He believes Crawford's speed, footwork, and ring IQ could be the keys to controlling the pace and possibly securing the win.
That's a tough one. Look, I like betting fights or making picks, and I'm usually pretty good on all my picks, even when I had the podcast. But sometimes, because people look for that fighter, that former world champion, and they like want to pick them apart if they get it wrong. This is one of the fights where I want to sit back and watch and not worry about my pick. Canelo is a small middleweight, super middleweight. He just is. But he's also showed that he could go up in weight class, and he's a great fighter. I mean, that's it. Crawford is so talented. He's got so much ability in boxing, his boxing ability. And he's a bigger guy, too. He's almost every bit as big as Canelo, right? So that's what makes it tough. Like, yeah, Canelo's used to fighting guys coming down from 200, probably, at light heavyweight. And Crawford ain't. But it's just too hard to pick on it because of Crawford's ability and boxing skills. I'm not going off of Canelo's last fight. The guy he was fighting was in survival mode pretty much. He was just fighting not to get knocked out. When you fight a guy like that, you're not going to look good, right? I don't care what anybody says. When you fight a guy that's running around trying to survive, it makes it hard. So I don't go off of that, but this fight is going to be interesting. I mean, I would almost have to kind of lean with Canelo, but I'm not making that pick. Just saying.
In addition to strategy, Pavlik offered some advice for Crawford. Start fast and put pressure on Canelo early. He suggested that if Crawford can push the pace, he may be able to wear Canelo down, especially in the later rounds, where the Mexican star has occasionally shown signs of fatigue. With Canelo's energy likely to dip as the fight goes on, this approach could open the door for Crawford to score a late stoppage or earn a clear decision. It's a calculated risk, but one that could pay off if executed properly.
Canelo's a little early on, put Canelo behind, right? Even if it's 3 out of the first 4 rounds, because when Canelo has to fight, when Canelo has to step it up, after 7 rounds, he starts to fade a little bit. We've seen that with Bivol. We've seen it in a lot of his fights with Triple G. When Canelo could control the fight and the ring generalship, he could fight 12 rounds pretty good. But when Canelo gets pushed early on in the fight, he starts to fade muscle endurance wise. So if I was Crawford, I would kind of stay in a little bit on the early rounds and make him have to play catch up in rounds 3, 4, 5, and then by round 7, that's where, you know, he could really step.
Tim Bradley is firmly in Crawford's corner. He's been critical of Canelo's recent performances, pointing to bouts like the one against John Ryder as evidence that Canelo hasn't looked as sharp. Bradley believes Canelo won't be able to cope with Crawford's superior skill set. Even if Canelo tries to drag the fight into a brawl, Bradley is confident Crawford has the tools to dominate from the opening bell to the final round.
One more thing. It don't matter if Canelo is on that. He ain't beat no Terence Crawford. You heard it here first. Plus, I look at the performances of Canelo. I look at his last performances. I mean, they've been all right. You know, they ain't been like, you know, wow, you know, blew me away. So I'm not really worried about all of that. And the same thing goes with Crawford. I know he's with Snack, and I know some news came out this week and all of that, but I personally believe that Snack is clean. I think it's a conflict of interest, the fact that, hey, he knows how to beat the system, quote unquote, Victor Conte, but at the same time, I think Snack, you got products going around the world, this and that. I mean, all these athletes are testing. They're not testing anything or positive by using Snack at all. So I think they're safe. There's no doubt about it. So with that being said, I'm not worried about that. As long as they're testing, I'm good.
Shannon Briggs, meanwhile, isn't worried about the size difference. He still believes Crawford has what it takes to beat Canelo. Briggs points to Crawford's technical brilliance and his ability to switch seamlessly between stances as key advantages. Having known Crawford since childhood, Briggs says he has full confidence in the undefeated champion skill set and even predicts a technical stoppage victory.
I think it's going to be a great fight. I got Crawford by stoppage, and I've known him since he was a little kid, you know, 12 years old. So to see him now fighting for a title in such a big fight, it's a great experience, great to see.
Last question for me then. How do you think Crawford stops him? How do you think he's able to work Canelo enough for him to stop the fight, drop, knock him down? How do you think this is possible by Crawford style?
He gonna box him. He can fight both ways. He gonna trick him up. You know, one thing Canelo showed is that he can be outboxed. But I think this time in the late rounds, you know, I think Crawford gonna have some.
Initially, Sergio Mora doubted Crawford's chances at 168 pounds. After watching Canelo's less than impressive outing against William Skull, Mora felt Crawford might not be ready for such a challenge. But after reconsidering, he shifted his stance. Mora now believes Crawford's grit and technical skill could shock the boxing world with a standout performance. In particular, he highlights Crawford's counterpunching ability and versatility in switching stances as crucial weapons against Canelo's power.
I ain't gonna lie, I've been putting it out since, I want to say, when he fought Sean Porter. Like back then, if you go watch, it's an interview out there. I had said I think that Terence Crawford would beat Canelo Alvarez right after he fought Sean Porter.
At that point, but why did you believe then that was the right fight?
Because I just knew, like, as far as in that weight class, Terence Crawford is like the greatest. So I just feel as though with Canelo's style and like the style of boxing that he got, I think and this is before Bivol did it, but I thought like Terence Crawford was the only guy who I felt as though could have beat Canelo with his style.
Shakur Stevenson has long believed Crawford has what it takes to beat Canelo. He's been vocal about Crawford's steady rise, pointing to his dominant win over Sean Porter in 2021 as proof of his greatness. Stevenson argues that Crawford's elite skill set, ability to switch between orthodox and southpaw, and high fight IQ make him the best candidate to dethrone Canelo. On the other hand, Erislandy Lara, who once lost to Canelo in a close split decision, takes a more cautious stance. Lara acknowledges Canelo's power and the difficulty of handling him in the later rounds. He suggests Crawford's best chance lies in using quick movement and keeping the fight at range, forcing Canelo to work harder than usual. If Crawford can maintain that strategy, Lara believes he has a real shot at victory without getting dragged into a slugfest.
He sees it as a very interesting 50-50 fight. He feels like Canelo's very strong right now, and he wants to figure out to see how Crawford's going to handle the power, especially in the early rounds, and what's going to happen. So yeah, he said he remembers fighting Canelo back 14 years ago it is now, and he said he remembers he used his legs real good, and as long as Crawford uses his legs and he doesn't let Canelo just hit him in the arms and beat him up in the arms, he has a very good chance.
In the end, the upcoming showdown between Canelo and Crawford is shaping up to be one of the most highly anticipated boxing events in recent memory. Opinions may differ on the outcome, but there's no denying that both men bring something unique to the table. Fans around the globe are eagerly waiting to see who will rise to the occasion in this historic clash.